And we start with a major political battle that is brewing in Texas and that has Democratic lawmakers leaving the Lone Star State. They want to prevent a state house vote on a newly drawn congressional redistricting map. And it's a plan backed by President Donald Trump. And it could give the GOP 5 more seats in Congress. Dozens of those Texas Democrats are in Illinois right now. Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker on your screen here welcomed them just yesterday. He praised the lawmakers and said the issue goes beyond Texas politics.
You are answering one of the most challenging calls of public service that has ever been asked of you. And you've had to leave behind your families, your full-time jobs, your communities, and you did it to protect the voting rights of the people that you represent and voters all across this nation.
House Minority Leader and other Democrats say redrawing Texas congressional maps is a power grab by Republicans and President Donald Trump ahead of next year's midterm elections.
The tool they're using is a racist, gerrymandered map, a map that seeks to use racial lines to divide hard-working communities who have spent decades building up their power and strengthening their voices. And Governor Abbott is doing this in submission to Donald Trump.
There was a time when a Texas governor wouldn't be afraid to tell a president, any president, don't mess with Texas.
Right.
But Greg Abbott is too subservient and too weak to do that to Donald Trump.
In a post on X, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said the lawmakers who left the state should be, quote, found, arrested, and brought back to the Capitol immediately. He added the state should use every tool to hunt them down. New York's governor is also throwing her support behind the Texas Democrats. Governor Kathy Hochul is hosting 6 Texas Democrats in Albany right now as we speak, and she had this message for Texas Republicans. Take a listen.
I have news flash for Republicans in Texas. This is no longer the Wild West. We're not going to tolerate our democracy being stolen in a modern-day stagecoach hoist by a bunch of law-breaking cowboys. Americans don't want a system that's stacked against them. They believe in fairness. It's fundamental.
Let's bring in CBS News Texas reporter Trevor Sochocki in Dallas for us. Trevor, thank you for joining us on 24/7 today. We appreciate your time. So we know Governor Greg Abbott is warning that these Democrats will forfeit their seats if they're not back in the State House by this afternoon. So can you take us through how this could possibly play out?
Yeah, that is exactly what he is saying. He's saying if they're not back by 3 p.m. today, he cited laws and opinions that he claims gives the government the opportunity here to remove these legislators that have left the state from their seats. But the works that he cited in his letter to those legislators, he cited non-binding opinions from Attorney General Ken Paxton, that's the Republican Attorney General of Texas, and he said that gives him the authority to remove these legislators from their seat. Now remember, these legislators, they're already facing fines of up to $100 or $500 a day, rather, for leaving the state during this time where they're supposed to be in quorum, because Texas, it's a state where they have 150 Texas House members. They need at least 100 to have a quorum. 51 of them left the state, leaving them with only 99 in the state right now. So they do not have a quorum. They broke quorum, and now the governor is saying he can remove them from their seats. Again, citing that non-binding opinion by Attorney General Ken Paxton. However, the Democratic House caucus here, they responded already overnight. They said a 4-word statement which said, come and take it. So clearly setting themselves up for a battle here. Not sure how long they're going to be in Chicago and these other states, but they are clearly setting themselves up for a fight with the governor.
Yeah, certainly seems like it. Now, we know there have been protests in Texas against the proposed districts, but is there any support for these lawmakers who have now left the state?
Well, that's still coming in. We're still waiting to see how the public is going to react to this, because the public has seen this before. Texas Democrats, this isn't the first time that they've done this. They did this back in 2005. 20 years ago, they were actually fighting this same battle over redistricting. 20 years ago, there were 2 special sessions where Texas House Democrats left the state twice to try and protest against redistricting. But Republicans did the same thing that it looks like they're going to do now, which is they waited, the Democrats came back into the state, they had a quorum, and they passed the redistricting. It also happened 2 years ago, back in 2023. Texas Republicans, again, were trying to pass a restrictive voting bill. Texas House Democrats, they left the state, but as soon as they came back, again, House Republicans passed the bill right through. So it appears that even though people may support them, you mentioned the protests that we saw down in Austin earlier this weekend and last week, it appears that even if that happens and even if people do protest this, Republicans' plan right now is to follow history and just wait for the Democrats to come back into town.
You know, and that really plays into my next question for you, Trevor, because what is next for the battle over the redrawn map? If the vote doesn't happen, could this play out in the courts?
It very well could play out in the court, and there's a number of court battles that could ensue over this. I mean, first of all, you have the court battle over these House members being pulled from their elected offices in the first place, that the voters put them in there. And so if the government, if Governor Abbott as well as Attorney General Ken Paxton, if they decide to start removing people from their elected offices, that could easily start a court battle. But then, of course, you have the court battle over the districts in the first place, and both of those could end up in the courts. I am sure that there are going to be Democrats who will fight it on both sides, and so this could easily end up in the courts.
Okay, CBS News Texas reporter Trevor Sochocki in Dallas for us today. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for joining us in 24/7.